and I had no further repercussions, aside from the lesson firmly ingrained into me to be careful when one's walking backwards. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for being here. I hope your week's been great and that your long Easter weekend has been even better. Today, I'd like to talk about scars, not the physical kind as such, but the mental and the emotional ones, why we have them, why we maybe need them, and how they help us to journey onwards. So let's talk about it. But before we do, please like, comment, share and subscribe and click that notification bell for future uploads. Please, pretty please, that would be most appreciated. I think scars have a bad rep. The word itself brings to mind something that's ugly, grotesque, twisted, miscoloured and out of place. Even Google defines it as a mark left on the skin within body tissue where a wound or a burn or a sore has not completely healed, and so fibrous connective tissues are developed. That doesn't sound very pretty at all, does it? But I think there are a few ways we can spin this. Scars can represent survival and healing. I have a scar on my elbow from my first ever visit to Sierra Leone, West Africa, at age 5, when walking backwards, I fell and grated it on the rough ground. Sorry for, TMI. And then I had the pleasure of experiencing authentic African infection control prevention methods that stung like a bee. And yes, there's a scar, and that area has never looked the same, but it did heal, and I had no further repercussions, aside from the lesson firmly ingrained into me to be careful when one's walking backwards. And it gives me a good tale to tell. Scars can also represent something of beauty. Pregnancy stretch marks is an example that comes to mind. Carrying my daughter, the pregnancy itself, all was going well back then. So we're talking, over 11 years ago. Bio oil was the thing. It was the recommended thing. So I was sure to slap that thing on every morning and every evening. Then she was 2 weeks late. 2 whole weeks late. And so in that time, if you know, in that time, the circumference of my stomach increased exponentially, even according to the rate of growth throughout the entire pregnancy. I literally was looking like I'd swallowed a couple of basketballs. So naturally, stretch marks were really starting to come in. And all these years later, while I must say I'm definitely blessed to, with how minimal they ended up looking, I do still have some marks that are visible. And although not quite the same thing, I liken them to scarring. It's scarring. But you couldn't pay me to get rid of the evidence that is the result of something and someone so beautiful that I carried and labored for. I once heard someone describe it as a roadmap of motherhood. And I really loved that, because it does come down to perception and perspective. The best one of all, scars can also represent the evidence of victory. It's a timely comparison to Christ at this time, where we are widely acknowledging his sacrifice, his crucifixion, and his resurrection. In John 20, verse 20, it says, "When he had said this, he showed them his hands and his side. Then the disciples were glad when they saw the Lord." In verse 21, it explains how after he had risen, but before he was yet to ascend to his place in heaven, he simply appeared in the room where the disciples were holed up, hiding. He told them, "Peace be with you." And then he showed them what? His hands and his side. His marks, or if you like, his scars. And with this, they were assured that it was truly Christ who was with them. His evidence of victory solidified and assured the peace he had given to them. To those who are open enough to see and to hear, God likes to make things explicitly clear. He was in the midst of them and their focus was on him. And likewise, we must strive to live lives that welcome his presence, to remain in our midst and to keep our eyes on him while he's near. It's a lot like Peter walking on the water. The moment he allowed the noise of the waters, or the storm, if you like, to distract his attention away from Jesus, it's the precise moment that he started to sink. So if even Jesus bears the scars to evidence his victory over sin, over death, so too must we if we're to live a life that emulates his. Our scars document the story of our journey from pain to purpose. Just as there was a purpose to all the pain and ultimate sacrifice that our Lord went through, which was to save us all from the penalty of death and to grant us a new and everlasting life in him, so too is there a purpose for all the pains, all the struggles, all the strife that we go through. God wastes nothing and he uses everything for our good, but only when we're yielded to him. That's not saying we're called to be perfect. No. While we're in this life, in this imperfect vessel, we'll for sure get it wrong. We'll take a wrong turn, or we'll lose our footing. But the good news, the great news, is that there isn't anything that's too hard for God. His plans and thoughts for us are for peace, a future and a hope. It says so in his word. And so in his timing, our scars will become the very evidence of our victory in him. I hope this has blessed you. Please share with one and bless another, and let's build a community that's rooted in resilience, in hope, and unwavering belief in the power of God, because it's truly time to discover the power of steadfast faith as we break through and overcome. Thanks for watching. Be blessed and go good.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like,